All right, this is a specific lesson for those of you who have not been able to download Photoshop. There is an online web-based tool called Pixlr that's very similar. I just want to show you the small differences. Before I do that, I just want to mention that because it is so similar to Photoshop, I'm not going to talk through all the tools and all the selections, etc. I just want to point out the interface essentially. So if you are still struggling with Pixlr and you're working in that, these videos right here, these tutorials still apply to Pixlr. So if you want to look at creating your infographic in Photoshop, that will also apply to Pixlr. So you want to watch that video as well, okay? So what is Pixlr? So I'm just talking about the modification here that we can make if you don't have Photoshop. If you go onto the web and you type in pixlr.com, Pixlr.com, the version that you want to use is called Advanced Pixlr E. When you go into Advanced Pixlr E, you can bring in images, you can do a variety of things, but what you're going to see is the interface compared to Photoshop looks very similar. You'll have tabs along the top if you open up images separately. You'll also have the tools along the left-hand side. In fact, a lot of the selection tools, you'll see right here, if I go to the lasso tool, the only difference is that the magnetic lasso and the polygon lasso, etc., are along the top instead of bundled with the lasso. There's still a magic wand tool. You'll notice there is no quick select tool, however. Okay, so all those things will still work. And I just want to show you how to start a new document. So if I went into, let's say, File, New Image, you'll see here that you basically can start a new document. I'm going to start a new document called Infographic. And like you know, if you want to make a wide one, it's going to be 3200 by 2000, and vice versa if you want to make a vertical infographic. So here's your blank document, and all of the keyboard shortcuts still apply, and maybe I'll list those off to the side here while I'm talking. But there's my document here, and let's say, for example, I wanted to put in a background color, or I had a color scheme that I had. So I've talked about this previously, but it still works in hex code. So if I wanted to know what this particular color was, maybe I wanted this very light pink background, I could use the eyedropper tool, and you'll see right here, if I click on that, here's the hex code for that exact color. So if I copy that hex code, or what I could do is, since that color is copied, if I go to my paint bucket tool, I could go to the background and just boom, that's my background, okay? A variety of other things you could do. Let's say I had a bar graph that I wanted to edit the colors of. There's all sorts of ways you could do that. I could go to the color scheme, the eyedropper tool, or maybe you already have the hex code, but if you don't, you can use the eyedropper tool to get a hex code and then copy it. Control C to copy, and then and I didn't even have to do that because I could use my paint bucket tool if I like. So there we go. Let's say I wanted to bring this bar graph in. The thing that you're going to have to be aware of, just like in Photoshop, is I want to get rid of all the white in order to do that. So I'm probably going to use my magic wand tool to just select all the white possible and hit delete. And then you'll notice, just like in Photoshop as well, there might be all these little things that you have to get rid of as well. And you can see those down at the bottom here. Now, one thing you will find is it's a little bit slower than Photoshop, but it still tends to work. So I could pull up my eraser tool, for example, and start erasing all those things that I don't want. Okay, and I'm not going to spend the time doing that, but you can see I could erase all those pixels if I wanted to, go to different areas, erase all the things that I don't want. But then what I could do is, this is essentially a PNG with transparency. I haven't done a perfect job here, but I could pull out, just like in Photoshop, my rectangular marquee tool, select that image, press Control C to copy, go back to my infographic, Control V to paste, and I can use my move tool to move it around anywhere I want to. Okay, last thing I want to show you, so just know it's very similar to Photoshop. All your layers are here. You can create new layers. I just want to show you, for example, I had one here of, if I can find it, this girl here. If I wanted her entire image to be a certain color, let's say the image that I wanted her to be would be this navy here. So I'm going to just copy that navy. Oh, and then I'll show you the text tool as well, okay, for those who are interested in typing. So I've got that color. I can go back to her. Now the problem is that she won't fill in perfectly. right? You'll see all this pink stuff here as far as that's concerned, and it's going to be really hard, and this even happens in Photoshop as well. It's going to be hard to get all of that selected. So what you can first of all do is get rid of the white. Again, this is only specific to some of you who need this, right? I'm going to get rid of the white. I'm even going to crop this a little bit just so I'm focusing on one of the girls. So I'm just pulling out my crop tool here. And then I'll show you the text tool, and that'll be it for this lesson, just to show you that it's completely and utterly possible to do this. And then if I want to fill her in completely, what I'm actually going to go up to here to do is go select and select pixels. So right now it's selected all the pixels. So if I want to make it all navy and not have all those pink lines, since I've only selected that, that's my only selection, I could pull out my paintbrush tool and probably make it quite a bit larger here. Maybe have no softness, but the idea now is I could paint. So you're seeing that everything inside that selection is going to be that navy color. And that's kind of what I wanted to do. A little part of it's missing here off to the side just because I wasn't careful, but essentially now I could copy that. So bring up my selection tool, I could copy it, and I could paste it into my background, and I've got something I can work with. So finally, the typing tool. A couple of interesting things about the typing tool is sometimes you have to actually create the typing layer. So I noticed over here you have to hit the, I think the plus sign here, and you add a text layer, and now it allows you to type. So maybe if I wanted to write bubblegum, for example. Now the cool thing is you can, if you want to, you can highlight that just like in Photoshop. You can choose any font that you want. You can change the size here, so it's all very similar. You can use the moving tool. You can even, if you've installed the font, you'll notice that it does have the option here. I just have to go back to the text tool, but it does have the option to install your own font, so add a local font that you have if you want to. But those are all the things that you have at your disposal. Other things you can do if you're interested in adding an outline, that would be in styles here, and you can add outlines. So let's say I wanted a white outline around there. There we go, and you can lower the size of the outline. You can do a variety of things as you see fit, okay? The only thing I wasn't able to find was curving text, but there's your text. You can edit it all, you can move it around, and when you select other layers, that box on the outside of the text will disappear. So lots of similarities to Photoshop. And finally, the type of file you would save this as would be a .pxd. So when you go into save here, you want to save it as a .pxd. Okay, because that'll include the layers, and then I can actually see what you've worked on, and you can edit it again later as well. Okay, that is it.